Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. It's the morning of November 5th as I'm doing this recording. Well, last night's program we had a severe problem with the broadcast on Facebook and on Blog Talk Radio because I had a bandwidth problem with the internet, and it was after the program that I figured out what I had done and why I had that problem. But I just know that the Facebook recording would stop a number of times, so that did not work, and then Blog Talk was coming through kind of choppy. So here's what I'm going to do. This morning I'm going to give an abbreviated version of what I had talked about last night. Now, first of all, I still do have a couple more seats available for the workshop in Phoenix this coming Saturday. I have a lot of new information that people are just absolutely loving, so we would love to have you there. But let's go into the program and let's talk about the things I talked about last night. First of all, let's talk about the elections issues. And here it is. It's Thursday morning and nothing has changed since last night about, who are they projecting to win. We're still down to basically 4 states: Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and either Nevada or Arizona. Now, here, and what's going to happen is Trump has to win Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania, and he's ahead in all of those. And he has to flip either Arizona or Nevada. Now, Nevada is going to be coming out with some new reports in about an hour from when I'm doing this program right now. But here's the issue about what's going to happen for us in the currency exchange and what is this election all about. We've never seen an election like this where there is such what I called anticipation, such energy, what I call, around both sides of the issue on one way or the other. And I'm just going to give you what is my opinion, okay? Now, first of all, we live in a world that is what's called a world of duality consciousness. And there's always these opposites that appear on a lot of stuff. So we live in a conventional world, where the conventional world is everything that we're taught, everything that we see, everything that we observe out in the open, what comes out of the news media and stuff like that. And then on the other side of that is what is called the shadow world. The shadow world is where issues of real power and control go on behind the scenes, and they're not openly reported to us. We have lived in a world for millennia that the shadow controllers have always run and controlled what has gone on in this world. And we have always referred to those basically as the cabal, the elite, these extremely wealthy people who for hundreds of years have run and controlled this world, and they've kept us, the everyday folks, in various forms of financial slavery. And what's happening now is that we're beginning to wake up. We're beginning to see what's going on. We're beginning to understand the reality of this shadow world. As we wake up, we can begin to take steps in freeing ourselves so that we become our own independent sovereign beings versus people who are subject to the control process of this world. Now, in my opinion, what we've seen with the presidency of Donald Trump is that he's basically been exposing the deep state. He's been draining the swamp. It's come a little slower than what I thought it was going to be, but that's what he has been doing. And I think here's what's going to happen. If Trump gets elected, we're going to see an intensification of the draining of the swamp. We're going to see an intensification of the corruption within government exposed. Because remember, Trump is not a career politician. If Biden gets elected, then I think we're back to, again, where we have been, is that we're still going to have a shadow world that is controlled by these ultimate controllers. And yes, they're going to have a lot of impact and control over Biden and that process. And so we will have to then, as individuals, what I call work a little more intent and a little bit harder about moving into what is called our true sovereignty. Now, fortunately, what I have been told when it comes to the currency exchange is that it's not going to make any difference on who gets elected, whether or not the funds will be released. What will have what we call some opposition will come after the funds are released, and how that money is moved and how that money is used and how those funds are put into a perspective to open up what is going on. Now, let me tell you what is, in my opinion, the positive thing that would happen if Biden gets elected. If Biden gets elected, I think you're going to see an intensification of bringing to the surface all the issues with his son Hunter Biden and the deep corruption that had come out of that proposal. Now, there's different opinions on that. I understand that, but I think that's the positive thing. Because see, at the end of the day, we are in the process of humanity of undoing and releasing and letting go or transitioning from this old, powerful, corrupted system, and we're moving into what is called a new system of higher consciousness. How is this happening? Well, one of the best things I can refer you to is the readings of Wes Penray. Now, you can go to my website, thecosmicconnections.wordpress.com, and go into the resources tab, and you're going to find links to all the writings by Wes Penray. He has done what is the best job of anyone that I have found that has synthesized and brought together all the issues of the Neruda interviews I've always talked about, the writings of A.R. Borden that I've talked about, the writings of Barbara Marciniak of what I've talked about, and even bringing in the concepts that come out of the writings of Gary Renard of A Course in Miracles and Tina Spalding with her books as well. He has brought all that into a synthesis together better than anybody I've seen who describes this is the world we live in. This is why we are in the condition that we are as humanity. And this is now the time that we as a human race are allowed to move into what is called our freedom. We're waking up. What is happening? Well, I'm sharing this now far more extensively within the workshops, but it's about how our DNA within us, which opens up our awareness and our perception to what goes on around us, is being reactivated. Because you see, history tells us, as we go back hundreds of thousands of years, as a human race, we used to be what was called fully functional multidimensional beings. And then along came basically the Anunnaki and some of the other ET races. And they were masters in geneticists. And what they did, they disrupted or disconnected different strands of our DNA, and it dumbed us down. And they have kept us in this dumbed down, ignorant, unaware, uneducated state of who we are as humanity, being subject to their power and control systems. That is who we have been as a human race. It's so easy to see anywhere through history that the masses of humanity have always been subject to the kings, the monarchs, and the dictators who have basically controlled the masses of human race and kept us in various forms of slavery, especially for us in the current Western world, the financial slavery that we've been in, where we're slaves to our jobs because we don't have the time to learn who we truly are and how we make these transitions in our lives. So this is the new era that we're moving into. We're moving into this new era of discovering the fullness of our potential, discovering of who we can truly be as humanity. But here's the key. And some people call it the Ascension Process. There's different terms for it. But here's where I am, and this is also where Wes Penray is. This doesn't just happen. It's not like somebody comes in and frees us or delivers us or takes us somewhere else. It comes as we as individuals retrain, reprogram our thinking and our memory process. We are conditioned to how our subconscious mind has been programmed through these thousands of years, and that has kept us in a conditioned, dumbed down state. We're starting to wake up to wait a minute. We have a potential that is so far beyond that. We have a potential to be these, what we call these miraculous beings. We have a potential to be everything and do everything as Jesus did, the miracles that he did. And A.R. Borden brings that out extensively in his writings because he and his colleagues did all that stuff. These are real scientists who did the real stuff of what we would call the real miracles. Borden basically had shared with others, he says, everything that you saw on Star Trek about 30 years ago, we do it all for real. We are the physicists, we are the scientists who understand how energy works, that we live in a world that is basically a holographic illusion, and the only limitations that we place upon ourselves is the limitations of our thoughts and our perceptions and our beliefs. And all of that is programmed into our subconscious mind. And as we learn how to reprogram, rethink, retrain ourselves, we have this ability to open up and to become more than what we have always potentially been. Now, in the future, I'm going to be focusing on this LERM process, LERM, Light Encoded Reality Matrix, that Borden talks about, that anybody can learn to do if they are willing to do the work. I talk about this much more extensively in the workshops. It's the new material that I'm bringing in about this is the world we're going into. Humanity is going to go there. It's not a question of if, it's a matter of when. And when do you want to be there? When do you want to be in this position of freeing yourself from this slavery that has been placed upon us by these deep state cabal people, controllers? When do you want to free yourself from that? And the process of being free is not hard. It's just focused work. It's something that anybody can do if they're willing to focus, do the work, and understand the transition that is necessary. And we're moving into this era now where all the assistance for the transition is being made available to us. Because to make this transition in an easier manner with this focused work, it's about reprogramming and reprocessing of our DNA. And we have moved into the era where we're receiving what is called these photon light energy that's coming to us. And again, these are scientists that have shown this, how our galaxy has moved into what is called the photon band. And we're receiving these light energy packets that are coming into our world, here onto our Earth. And this is helping us wake up. So we're being given a choice. And what it's doing, it's raising the frequency of everything here on the planet. And all you have to do is watch the daily readings of the Schumann resonance, which is basically the measurement of the electromagnetic frequency of our world, of our Earth. And you can see we're going through these massive changes of what we're going through. There's been over the last 5 to 7 years, there's been this really strong increase in the Schumann resonance, which means everything in our world is vibrating at a higher frequency and slightly stronger. And then we have the opportunity to move in transition with it. We have the opportunity to keep ourselves at a higher frequency in our thoughts, a higher frequency in our perspectives, a higher frequency in our perceptions. And when we do that, that transition happens within us. This is the new world we're moving into, folks. This is where we're going. And my perspective on this election is, if Trump wins, we're going to see that process being somewhat smoother to go through that. If Biden wins, we're going to find more resistance coming into that process. Because, see, at the end of the day, these dominant controllers, they understand this stuff. And they don't want us waking up. They want to keep us in this dumbed down state of slavery. Their greatest fear is humanity waking up. And that's what we're beginning to do. Now, this is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But in this process, we're the ones that are getting to move into this new state of awareness, this higher state of consciousness, and this higher state of being. And with that, we truly become we understand the ability to be the creators of everything that we want going on around us. That's kind of a summary in the nutshell of stuff that I had shared on the program. And it's also kind of an abbreviated format of what I'm doing in the workshop with the new material, where we spend a full day going over all of this stuff. I'm ready for the change. I'm focused on it. I'm excited about it. I'm ready to create this new world for myself, and I'm ready and willing to do the work, and I'm going to be sharing that with you over the coming months, the process that I go through this, okay? So with that, here we are now. I am still in Arizona, and it says it's 9:36 in the morning, Arizona time. and Monday I'm heading back to Florida. I'll be going back home. But folks, I hope this is something that's very helpful for you, and it's a good message for all of us, and that you can jump on board with where we are going. So thanks a lot, folks. Have an absolutely wonderful day and a wonderful week. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.